Hello, my Aries friends. This is Kristen Redmond, astrological intuitive, and today we're going to be going over the astrological impacts that are going to be affecting your sign for the upcoming year of 2024. Now, with you, Aries, this is a very pivotal year, and I'm sure you can already attest to that without me even telling you that, right? This has been a very interesting time frame for you because you have had the eclipses land in your sign where they have not been for 10 years. And this started last year. Now, in the world of astrology, eclipses are important, right? It's the sun and the moon are the main luminaries, as we call them. They show us who we are, that's the sun, and how we are on the inside and how we operate subconsciously, that's the moon, right? They're very vital parts to have our inner self and our outer self cohesive. Now, these eclipses pull in the energy of both of those at the same time. And so for all of us here on planet Earth, eclipses represent new beginnings. It represents where change needs to happen. And in order for change to happen, things have to be let go of, right? Now, when that eclipse energy lands in your sign where it hasn't been for 10 years, there is a massive push to be authentic to who you are and release what no longer is working. Now, if we don't do it, you know how the universe works, right? We get little hints. We get hints along the way, like maybe I shouldn't be in this job anymore. Maybe I shouldn't be in this relationship. Things have to change in order for me to feel happy and fulfilled in this relationship. You name it, right? We get all these little signs, right? Whether it's little fights, little issues, you get passed over for promotion at work again and again. There's little signs the universe shows us because the universe is always listening, right? It hears what we're asking for and it's trying to bring it to us. But a lot of times we get stuck in these comfort zones and we don't make the changes necessary to bring in these new blessings, right? These eclipses come along, they show us along the way. This happens in the spring and in the fall every year. But in your sign, this is happening last year and into this year. They show us signs in that springtime and in the fall of what needs to shift and what needs to change. Now, with these Aries energy on top of them, it's telling us we've got to have the confidence, the courage, and the boldness to make the changes that are necessary, right? That's for everybody, but especially for you, Aries. This is a time frame when you're really called on to find that confidence and the courage to change whatever it is that needs to change in life, right? So we have it coming up again, right, this year, where the year I think is going to carry on that energy for you. There's a lot of change that's happening on various levels, and we're going to go over that here shortly. But I think you already know where these things need to happen. You just got to know that you are going to be safe if you make those shifts and those changes, especially if these are things that are repetitive messages that keep coming through your higher self. You keep hearing these thoughts, you keep seeing signs everywhere. Know to trust yourself, right? Know to trust yourself and when to jump. Now, remember that eclipse thing, because I'm going to keep repeating it throughout. But one of the major, well, you know what? Before I get into this, and then we'll get into this major area with career, but not only do we have the eclipses happening in your sign, we also have the nodes working in your sign, and then on your opposing side, Libra. Now, what are the nodes? What are the nodes, you're asking me, right? Well, here we are, true node astrology. This is where it's super important to recognize that our north node, or our true node, as it's also called, is what we look at as astrologers in someone's chart to see what their life's purpose is this lifetime, what they're coming here to achieve. And so we always look to the nodes in the sky as well that are saying where we're making the shifts necessary to make these big changes, right? Now, the north node is making a 20-year cycle into the sign of you here, of Aries, right? It's calling on all of us to find that courage, to find the inner warrior, to fulfill what our purpose is that we're being here, right? So we have that north node that's pushing you to your soul's purpose this lifetime. So not only do you have these eclipses that are trying to remove the things out of the way and bring in the new, you've also got this inner fire and push that there's more out here for me. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. What is it? Then on the other side of it in Libra is South Node. The South Node represents our most recent past life. So whatever lifetime you were in before this. And a lot of times we bring in that karma from the previous lifetimes, as you know. Now, what the South Node in Libra is calling us to do is to find balance, to say what is happening in these situations that is causing these repetitive issues. And let's let go of that baggage. Let's let go of these things in order for the new to come in, right? So you've got all of this as the baseline, right? Change, change, shift, shift, new beginnings. Yeah, right? Woo, yeah. But where are these things going to be impacting, right? That's going to be contingent on your actual chart, what house these eclipses are landing in. It could be dialed into money. It could be dialed into relationship. You're going to be having relationship stuff anyway. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you want to see what your actual chart has, I have a link below where you can get a reading with me. We can do it by Zoom, whatever. It works out great. You get a video, you have it forever. Yay. But one of the major things that's coming up, as I mentioned beforehand, is career. Career sector in your charts, Aries, is going through a massive overhaul. And when I say massive, it's because the slower moving planet out there, Pluto, is making its transit into your 10th house, known as the house's life purpose, career, reputation. But mainly it's what we're here to do and the impact we're here to leave. Pluto takes a long time to make a revolution around the sun, right? We take 365 days to go around the sun, where Pluto takes 250 years. Pluto has never been in your sign. It's never been in your grandparents' sign. Wasn't even in your great-grandparents' sign, right? These slower moving planets, when they move into new signs, it makes a dramatic impact on all of us. But especially when it's going into a new house, right? For you in your chart. And for you, Aries, this is going into that 10th house. Now, what is Pluto? Remember, I was talking about that South Node that calls on our past karma and what needs to be let go of. Pluto is the planet that's going to make it happen. Pluto says, we need change, we need shift. We can't pull parts and pieces from the past and build something new. We have to remove everything that is that block, get it from the root, so we can start over again. And a lot of times that comes with having to make those sacrifices and say, I know that this isn't for my better good and I need to release it, right? That can be outdated beliefs. That can be outdated patterns, behaviors, things that constantly can get you into trouble. Maybe it's the Aries way of just kind of jumping without thinking first or saying things very boldly in the moment. You're so filled with fire and you're the bravest of all the signs. So you make those jumps when you know you need to. But sometimes we got to think before we do, or we get ourselves into trouble, right? If you find that's a repetitive behavior or cycle, this is where Pluto can help shift and change that, especially in career, right? When Pluto starts to make that transfer into your sign of career, this is an end of an era for what it is you've done maybe your entire lifetime. Maybe it's not just this lifetime. Have you been drawn to being a firefighter, because it's been in the family and you've had to do it for years and years? EMS. Have you been upper management for a company and you're absolutely tired of doing it? It doesn't even matter what the career is, but let's just say you found yourself in those comfort zones, like I talked about before when it comes to career. Pluto comes through and it says, is this fitting to you? All those thoughts and feelings that have been coming to you, have you been diminished? Have you been minimized? Have you been looked over for these things? What is it that you can do to make these changes? Pluto comes in and it says, let's change it. Let's bring you to what your soul is really, truly here to do and remove the things in the way. So this is going to be a year where you've got an overall deep dive into those aspects of what your life direction is. Now, this can also play in part, not just in career life trajectory, but also the path where everything in your life is going. Relationships, you name it, right? Maybe it's with money, right? And that's where we're going to go into the next one. So this year, where money is going to be making a big impact for you, that second house of yours has Jupiter coming through. Jupiter, the planet of luck and opportunities. Opportunities where we can't even see where they're coming from, right? That's what happens. And it works in these 12-year intervals where it comes around. And now it's landed back into your house of money. Think about what happened 12 years ago in terms of finances. Remember, there was probably lucky breaks. Remember, there were things where you probably had to act on opportunities when they appeared. Even if you didn't know how they were going to work out, you're going on faith alone that these opportunities are going to pay off. That's what Jupiter is about. Blessings that come from having faith and trust, not only in the universe for bringing these things to you, but in yourself for making the right choice for you, right? Because ultimately, you're the main one in control of your life. That's why you came here to be an Aries this lifetime, right? Is to be able to embody that. Trust yourself, trust those nudges. So when Jupiter comes through that house of money, that's what we're looking at. Some unexpected opportunities, especially around April 20th, because that's when we have a once in a 12-year cycle where Jupiter, planet of luck and opportunity, expansion, growth, wisdom, all of these amazing things, lines up with Uranus in the sky. Uranus is an interesting little bugger. It brings things through unexpectedly. It looks at these areas and these comfort zones where we get ourselves stuck, and it goes, okay, I've given you enough warnings. You've been able to make these choices on your own to make these changes in life. Maybe if you haven't, Uranus comes through and it may abruptly make that job shift and change. It may make that next person get that promotion that you were waiting for, just to remind you, I need to make these changes. Sometimes it'll drastically throw us into these things unexpectedly, but that's not always bad. I think Uranus gets a bad rap for bringing these things on, but ultimately what it's trying to do is give us freedom. It gives us the ability to be our true authentic selves, to live our true authentic life. I look at your chart and I see a year where all the things that aren't authentic to you, you're learning to let them go and you're finding peace with it. All right. Now, when we do that, right, Jupiter comes through and it says, okay, you had enough trust and faith. Now I'm going to bring this blessing through. And when you have Uranus aligned with it, these blessings can be bigger than you even expect, right? So this is going to be a very important time to not only seize these opportunities, but let's say you're in a financial position that's not quite great, okay? This is going to be a year where Jupiter transiting through that second house is going to give you some new insights on what needs to be done to build a better plan to make sure that that abundance can come through, all right? So now we're going to be moving on. Big jump here, but that's a great thing to have. That's a wonderful thing to have in your sign. Remember that, keep that in mind, especially if you're signing mortgages or loans or anything like that. You've got a lucky star on you to get that pushed through. Maybe you can't see a way now, but Jupiter finds a way, all right? Just have faith and trust. Now, we talked about money. We talked about career. Let's talk about love. We kind of touched on it briefly, but we're going to go back to it. Now, remember, I was talking about those nodes, all right? Not only do we, wherever the nodes are in the sky, that's where the eclipses are happening for that year. So we have your soul's purpose in the north node, true node. We have south node that's about clearing out the baggage so you can do what you need to do, right? The comfort zones that we find ourselves in that we need to break free of. And we have the eclipses that are bringing the new beginnings when we recognize those three things. On one side, yes, it's working with you to find what you want, right? On the other side is relationship in the chart, right? Ascendant starts here of Aries. On the opposite side is where the relationship, marriage, sector, business partners falls in. Libra is what rules that. We have two eclipses happening in Libra, and we have the north node of the soul's purpose, what you should be gravitating towards this lifetime over here. These things are amping up, they're bubbling up, and you can feel it firing up, especially in relationship. Now, what Libra asks us, we're going to look at that first, is where is the balance, right? Where is the fairness? Are you getting back the reciprocal energy that you're putting in? Are you putting in the amount of energy that this person is? Are you taking into account their feelings, the words that they're saying to you, and vice versa? Are they taking what you say to heart? Are they taking your needs into consideration? That is what Libra is, the scales of balance. And a lot of times it's in those relationships where we have to give of ourselves and trust that the other person has our best intention at heart. Eclipses come in, the south node comes in. Where are you finding repetitive patterns in relationship? 2024 is going to really bring that to the surface. Not only is it bringing to the surface, you have all this energy behind you to release them and let them go. Yeah, change doesn't happen overnight, but I tell you what, when you recognize those patterns, that's the hardest part of change, is recognizing that there are these issues. Then you just catch yourself in the moment when these things pop up and you gradually change it over time. With all of this energy of abruptness, maybe it'll abruptly change this year too. But I tell you what, these things aren't happening just to drive you crazy. It's not to be like, oh no, I have these relationship issues again. The universe is trying to bring you a fair and beautiful relationship where your needs are recognized and you can recognize the needs of others. That's what love is about, right? Is give and take. And so when we come into this, it might seem like it's a little bit frazzling, but it's going to be okay ultimately in the end, because it's bringing you to a new level of relationship like you haven't seen in 20 years. All right. Listen to what the universe is laying down for you, right? You're releasing that past baggage that's getting in the way so you can live in those relationships that you want while being the true person that you're here to do, right? Because that's the other side that's getting the remodel this year as well. So let's look at this next. What I like to do is kind of look at specific alignments that are going to be happening for specific birthdays in the Aries cycle. Now, mind you, all of these might actually hit to home with you. These cycles are so long in the making that you may have already started going through them. So if it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, whatever, right? Then don't listen to it, right? But here we go. So we're going to start with the March 20th to the March 22nd birth dates. You have Pluto making a very harmonious connection to your Aries sun, that fiery warrior. When you have the planet of transformation, right? Pluto, that's the one that's going through your career house. Remember, we talked about this. You are going to be one of these people that resonate very much so with everything I said about career before, right? It's also the house of reputation. So let's say this is something where a divorce is happening. Everybody in the world's going to know about it, right? That makes a change in your reputation as well. But anyway, whatever, long and short of it, Pluto is making a harmonious connection with you. You are going through that caterpillar to the butterfly situation, right? And so as you find that, you think of it, a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, right? Because it's ready to transform and make the changes necessary. It says, I don't like being the little caterpillar no more. I want to make my changes. So what happens is it goes in for a season into that cocoon where we don't know what's happening, right? Maybe you feel that same way. You're going within that little cocoon yourself. And as we do, it's a painful process, right? Caterpillars don't just magically sprout rings and all of a sudden they're a butterfly flying away. They liquefy in that cocoon. They completely change and they're unrecognizable. And you may find in this year as well too that the changes you're making in this cocoon, maybe you move yourself away, you are going to be dramatically different. Maybe to the point where you don't even recognize yourself anymore. These changes that Pluto makes aren't overnight. This isn't new to you, any of you, right? This is not new to you. You have already been making these dramatic transformations, the sacrifices necessary. And as a result, the butterfly comes out, right? So this is the transformative year. It is about shedding those habits. Remember, we talked about those behavior and habits. This is you to make way for this new energy that's coming through and the new identity emerges, right? So also March 20th, I tell you what, if your birthday is March 20th, holy smokes, there's a lot happening for you this year. You're really feeling it the most. And when I say that, you need to trust your higher self the most in these changes. But if you have a birthday from March 20th to April, I'm pretty sure I have 10th. There we go. I was going to say, what in the world is this? Jupiter out there, that lucky planet, is making a beautiful connection with your sun as well too. So if you're willing to make these sacrifices and changes, Jupiter comes through and brings those blessings. Remember, this is a year of growth and learning and opportunity. Maybe this is a year of travel for you as well too. Even if you're not able to travel, physically, maybe it's travels of the mind. Maybe you're expanding your mind, going back to school, learning new things, bettering yourself, because that's what Jupiter wants us to do. It sees those comfort zones we're in and it pushes us outside of them. This is a year of opening to your spiritual side a little bit more, maybe trusting what those nudges the universe are giving you. So now, overall, for all of you, my friends, you have North Node aligning with your sun. As the North Node continues this 20-year cycle, this is where it is really destiny knocking at your door. I don't mean to sound all dramatic and stuff about this, but I tell you what, it's a 20-year cycle when it takes the North Node to come back around. And when it does, it helps you to really solidify what it is your purpose is, where you're going and where you want your life to be. And as a result, you may find that this year things are speeding up. Your ruling planet Mars is speeding up because there are no retrogrades this year for that. You are speeding up and life is speeding up as a result. So what we do is these things are, we be brave, right? You do the Aries thing. You're being brave to make the changes. You're being brave to have those conversations. And you're being brave to stand up for what you need, but also for the needs of others, right? Absolutely. Last thing we're going to talk about is the moons, right? Because this is where things are going to reach an apex for you, and you will find that there's going to be a lot of signs from the universe at that time for the changes that need to be made. New moons are where we can manifest whatever it is that we need in this universe, right? And so for you, the new moon is going to be April 5th. This is where we have to have that faith in the darkness that what we're hoping for is going to come through, that what we're believing in is going to come to light. And so that is a time where you're going to want to put in your seeds of manifestation for what you want for the upcoming year, especially if this is something that deals with career, love, money. Those are the big areas impacted. This is the time to really plant those seeds. Where you see those seeds come to fruition is at the full moon. They always work in these 6-month cycles. I find it time and time again after 10 years of doing this professionally. I find it with my clients all the time that at the full moon on October 17th, which is also a very pivotal time frame for you because this is your full moon, right? Things reach ahead. That's when things reach a conclusion. That's when we have to let go and we have to make those sacrifices. So you might find that things come to a major head in the fall. But look to those time frames. Know that you have the ability to change anything whenever you want. Astrology is all based on probability and potential. And we're the ones that write the script of our life. You can do it, Aries. You have the ability to do it. So 24 is going to be an amazing year, and I wish you light and love and prosperous abundance for the upcoming year. Thank you.